This week's episode of the Rural Woman Podcast is brought to you by the patrons of the Rural Woman Podcast. This amazing group of individuals contribute financially to the Rural Woman Podcast to ensure the stories of women in agriculture hit your earbuds each and every week. Want to join them in supporting the stories of women in agriculture while getting access to extended episodes, patron-only episodes, and other great perks? Head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more about how you can become a patron through Patreon. Hi, I'm Caitlin Dubin, and this is the Rural Woman Podcast. I'm a first-generation farmer who married into agriculture. Born and raised in a city, I was so unfamiliar with where my food came from, but I was determined to figure it out. Through my journey into agriculture, I saw women who were strong but humble, often taking a back seat. To me, these women were leaders who deserved a seat at the table. I created the Rural Woman Podcast to share the voices of women in an industry whose stories often went untold. The rural entrepreneurs who live and breathe their work, full of grit and pride. We come here to share our stories, to be in community with each other, to be challenged and inspired, but most importantly, to be celebrated and to be heard. We may not all live, farm, ranch, or homestead the same, but we are all connected. We are rural women, and our stories are worthy of being told. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Rural Woman Podcast. Today you'll meet Sam Haley. Sam grew up in rural Nova Scotia on a low bush blueberry farm, which truly cemented her love and dedication to agriculture. After high school, she completed her plant science diploma and later her plant science degree, embarking on a career in crop protection. Starting out in conventional chemical control, she then branched off into biological controls. On a whim, and with what she now calls her harebrained idea, while 5 months pregnant during the onset of the pandemic, she decided to start a llama farm. With her plant science background, she recognized the value of their manure and how it could be integrated into modern gardening. 11 llamas and 16 sheep later, she runs a small-scale fertilizer business, hand spins the animal's fiber, and strives to teach her boys a strong work ethic, all while showing them how everything has a place in the world. Friends, you are going to love Sam Haley just as much as I do. I have connected with her through this podcast and since on social media, and she is a true light in our industry, and I cannot wait to share her story with you. Without further ado, my friends, let's get to this week's episode with Sam. Sam, welcome to the Rural Woman Podcast. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to chat with you. For the listeners who are listening to this, we've already been chatting for the last 20 minutes, and I feel like Sam is my new best friend on the East Coast.
Come on out anytime. I'll show you around. It will be fun. I can't guarantee you to go back the same, but you'll have fun.
That is just fine with me. Sam, for the listeners who are unfamiliar with you, tell us who you are, where you're from, and how you got your start in agriculture.
So my name is Sam Haley. I grew up in rural Nova Scotia in a little place called Monastery, for anybody who's familiar, on a wild blueberry farm. So that's kind of where it all started. My grandfather owns 60 acres just outside of Antigonish County, and we have a fresh frozen line and walk-in freezers there, which has developed over time. And he'll sell to local farmers markets and little grocery stores and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I got my feet wet in agriculture. And then it just kind of took off like a house on fire after that. I went to, which is now known as Dal AC, was Nova Scotia Agricultural College. And then they kind of transitioned. So I have a plant science degree and diploma from there. And then took a year off and just worked just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And then I got a job in conventional chemistry sales for pest control, And then I was in that job for about 8 years and then switched to a biological job and then kind of developed a floof farm, as I call it, for lack of a better word. I got married and always wanted llamas and procured a llama, learned more about llamas, got another llama, and then went to look at a herd of llamas. I was looking at buying one and I came home with 4. And my husband at the time was like, you have a science degree, you can count. This is not one. And I'm like, well, and then come to find out that 2 of the llamas that came home were actually pregnant. So it turned out to be 6. So now we have 10 llamas, an alpaca, 16 sheep, and 3 Angora goats, all used for fiber. So I do everything but shear. Sometimes I'll outsource for washing, but I hand spin, process, pick myself. And on top of that, the llamas, because I have a plant science degree, I learned about their fertilizer, and I also have a fertilizer line that I do with their poop. And then that's just on the side. And I still work in agriculture for a profession. I am a global product manager for a biological company based in Fredericton, but home office is in Switzerland. And I do domestic sales for them too. And I'm on the blueberry board for Nova Scotia. So it's busy.
Is very busy and all pertaining to agriculture.
All pertaining to egg, yep.
Right. So growing up on that blueberry farm, how did it shape your experience in your love for agriculture?
I always liked it. I just liked it. It was always my grandfather's thing. He'd always drag me around to meetings. He'd always drag me, I'm going to the fields, come have a look. What do you see? What do you think? And then I'd see on his side of things that him trying to figure out what the problems were, what that weed was, what that disease was, what that insect was. And I'm very much I talked to my partner about it. I like to collect little old men now. They're my favorite things to do. I will befriend the little old men. Don't care what style hearing aid you have, what color plaid you have. I gravitate to little old men, which sounds so weird, but I love them. And I genuinely love hearing their stories and how they got where they are and all the knowledge that they know. Because these people are going to forget more than I'm ever going to learn, realistically. Because from back in the day, it's they handpicked, 200 acres with hand rakes. And it's just barbaric to think about that now because it's all technology. So I love dealing with the little farmers, and that kind of stuck with it. I love solving problems for people. And that's kind of where it all started. And then even afterwards, all through high school and in most university, I milk cows on a dairy farms on various ones. I love cows. It's it's an affliction that I'm plagued with. As a species as a whole, I enjoy eating them as well. It's not that it's just save the cows. It's them as a critter. So it's always just kind of been there, and it's never nothing else has ever really stuck, I guess, if the way of looking at it. I don't have any interest if it's not agriculture, which is so weird.
Right.
It's just weird. Sitting in a bank, I'm oh, your life must be so dull. I mean, they don't get crapped on, or you know what I mean? Or and they also likely deal with cute little old men too. Not in their forte, I guess. That's kind of how it, yeah, if that makes any sense.
I love what you said about they are going to forget more than I will ever learn. I think that is the tweetable moment right there because of the knowledge that they have, and they didn't get it from Google.
No, exactly. It's all hands-on learning. It's all they have a problem. They're trying to figure out how to fix it. They're talking to all these other people who have similar problems. And it's hey, I might not know what that weed is, but I know what this weed is. And then, what did you apply? How does it work? How it's just so cool. It's just so cool. And I see it with my grandfather now. He's oh, back in the day, I did this and I sprayed this and, And I'm okay, cool. But now that's how it worked then. But now, that chemical might not be listed anymore. It might be under a new regulation, a new name or something. So that's kind of where I come in. And then it's I'm the golden goose for 5 minutes until he forgets what I said. Because he's 80. He's going to be 81. So it's I get the same question every other week. And I'm just we've talked about this, you sweet creature. But yeah, it's true. It's just on how they do things versus now. It's incredible. It's truly incredible.
Talk to us more about your career in agriculture prior to the farm. You went to school for your plant science education. What was it about the science aspect of agriculture that interested you?
So full disclosure, I started out in the equine diploma program because I was like, I rode like semi-competitively. I rode all around the Maritimes. I evented, I had my jumpers, and it was great. And I knew myself enough to know that if I didn't go back to school right after high school, I wasn't going to ever go. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do something that I like. So we'll start into the equine thing. And then I got into the program and I realized I was like, this is like not okay. Like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm partying way too much. I'm here. I'm not really doing what I should be doing. And then I was home for Christmas one year and I was just like listening to my grandfather talk and like the farm. And we were like, and it was stuff that came secondhand to me. It's like, it wasn't like I had to go look up things. Like I knew what we were talking about. I knew the issues that he had. And I was like, why don't I go down that route? Like, I should just, if this is such second nature to me, like, why don't I go after that? So I did my diploma and I was like, okay, cool. Realistically, what am I going to do with a diploma? I could work in greenhouses, which is not my jam at all. Don't like the heat like that. Praise the people who have greenhouses. There's a place and time for them. I am not that person. So I did my degree. I focused on edible horticulture, which is low bush, and did my honors on a weed species that we had problems with in our fields. So I did all my field work at home. And then I was like, this is kind of my jam. Like, and then I realized like, this is what I liked. This is what I kind of wanted to do. And then I just kind of I worked for a year at a pet food store where I met my ex-husband. And then I got offered a job. Somebody remembered me. They're like, you're that blueberry chick. Like, and I've been going to these meetings with my grandfather since I was like knee high to a grasshopper. I was like the worst shadow ever because I never shut up. And like, you know, some people get handshakes from these farmers. And I, to this day, when I go to the meetings, like these little old men are like, and they come over and they hug you. And everyone's like, this is bizarre. So that's kind of like how it started. And then how it evolved. And now I'm doing all the things.
Doing all the things. So talk about the positions that you've had in the science field, essentially, for agriculture.
Yeah. So I started out in conventional chem, which I really liked, and I still do. I'm in more biologicals now, but I'm very much someone that's like, I need black and white. Like, show me why this works. Give me the data, off I go. I don't like, you know, oh, well, if you did this, this, and this, like, So I started out in a conventional chemistry company that's based in Guelph. They were bought by a company overseas, changed their name, still kind of had the same thing. And I did most of their sales in Atlantic Canada. So the one thing about Atlantic Canada is that it's not like Western Canada. It's not even like Ontario. Like we might have, like off the top of my head, we have 3 main retailers who all fight for a piece of the pie, depending on what province you're on too. Because like Nova Scotia is more hort. You'll see like a lot of potatoes and PEI in New Brunswick. But like you have those 3 fundamental people here who are like kind of shifting sand essentially of who's going to buy from who and who's going to do which and da-da-da-da. So when you get into that, such a small market, you really kind of need to know what you're talking about and like how it works, where it fits in your programs. If you're doing like IPM products, if you're doing purely conventionals. So I was in that field for 8 or 9 years. And then life happened. My oldest was 3. My youngest was 9 months. And my husband became my ex-husband. And I was like, we need to pivot and we need to pivot quick. Because I wanted to phase back slowly into work to try to figure out how the dynamic of life would happen. And then my headhunter actually, who had found me for the other position, was like, hey, like we were just chatting because I keep friends. It's what I do. Like I meet people, get to know them, and they just kind of stick in my orb. So even though I had dealt with him 9 years ago, I still chat with them. Told him the situation. He came up. He's like, I have this job. Like, I have this position. I think you might like it. Like, I think it's just quirky enough that it would be a good fit. So that's who I'm with now. I'm with Andermatt Canada. They are a biological company based in Fredericton, but like head office is in Switzerland. So I started out doing their domestic sales, and a lot of it is, I call it, this is so horrible, but I call it bioterrorism because People, when you talk about biologicals or organics, people like glaze over because they're like, oh, you're walking out barefoot, picking off bugs off a plant. Like they think like organic, but this is like, we use viruses that are like found in insects as an actual pesticides, and then we apply it back on them so it infects them, and it's very target specific. It's called baculoviruses. So we do a lot of that stuff, and then we have subsidiaries, I guess, like sister companies based all over the world. So they will take their actives and bring, like, one of our biggest products is from South Africa. Like, one of my really good friends is from South Africa now because I met her through work, and we're WhatsApping all the time, and it's crazy. But we also make them in Fredericton. So there was a shift in the dynamic of the company, and the position of global product manager came up, and they're like, you can talk the ear off a deaf elephant. Like, we haven't seen anybody that you can't talk to regardless of where they're at. Why don't you give it a go? And I was like, okay. So now I do the majority of the global sales for the company. Just the only continent I don't deal with Brazil, because that's kind of a bigger account. But like, I have product going into Australia. I have trials in South Africa. I have trials in Kenya. We just got stuff registered in. I have to go do a presentation in Argentina in May. So it's super cool. And at first I was really kind of skeptical because I'm like, I need the science to see how this works, because everybody says their stuff works, but I flat out said in my interview, I'm like, I need to see this. So I've seen some data. I'm like, well, this is fun. So complete 360 from conventional to organic or biologicals or bioterrorism, however you want to frame it. And now I'm in this.
So cool. As an organic farmer myself, love all of that, what you just said.
Yeah.
But the bioterrorism thing, I'm going to steal that from you.
Yeah, no. Well, that's exactly it. Because, like, you start talking about it, and everyone's like, oh, because, depending on where you are, what your perception of organic is, it's a real thing. Like, I know Amy Hill was on the podcast before. She lives 25 minutes down the road from me. Like, I went to school with her. I know her. And I've talked to her about this stuff. And she's more open to it. But, like, there's another farmer across the hill, 15 minutes from me, who is organic, lovely, but will go pick off every single insect off their plants. So it all depends, right? It's in the eye of the beholder. So like, if I throw out bioterrorism, you can really see like who's like,
the eyebrows shoot up. Yeah.
Eyebrows shoot up. They're like, go on, or they just like disappear. So I don't say it when I'm at like corporate meetings with everybody, and as I've learned, the Germans and the Swiss like don't quite have the Atlantic joie de vivre, if you will. Like we literally walk into the room and they're like, oh, there's the Canadians. Like, what are they going to do now? So I have to watch my P's and Q's.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And I just love the growth that you've had from, working on the blueberry farm and milking cows and kind of just figuring out your own space and honestly creating a space for yourself with your farm. So you started out with the one llama and then it obviously expanded. But what was it about wanting a llama in the first place? Why did you become a llama farmer?
The universal question that my mother asks me on a regular, she's like, why? I honestly don't know. And it's funny because every year the Facebook memory pops up. It was like 12 years ago. It's like, someone's going to catch me walking in my driveway with a llama one day and I won't be able to be held accountable for it. But I just always thought they were super cool. Mm-hmm. Like literally they're like a modern, like fiber dinosaur. Like they're just the weirdest things. And there's like and now they're really big in like pop culture where you always see llamas and alpacas and drama llamas and all this racket. But like they're super, super cool. And one of my favorite things about them, besides their fiber, which that was like a whole gateway, like that wasn't even on my radar. Like the whole side business it was just like, I just want to love you because you're really cool. But the one thing I really learned and I love about them is their family dynamic, like their herd dynamic. It is the most stressful but neatest thing ever. So like they are very much we lost, one of our mamas had a cria. Baby had a birth defect. She couldn't latch properly. She had a palate problem and she passed away. And this was like a learning curve for me. And I was like, well, because a baby, anything deceasing is just like like, I'm not a good farmer in that sense. Like, everybody has a name. Everybody, like, has a personality. I'm not, I'm not hard enough yet. So I was devastated and was like, okay, we did a autopsy to make sure, a necropsy to see exactly what it was, and sure it was. And then I just swooped the body away, not even thinking. Have you ever seen a mama llama mourn before? She walked the fence line for 3 days with her other daughter, who was 4 years older, older than this Kriya, calling and calling and calling for that baby. And her daughter would not leave her side. And I was like, what is going on here? Because this was the first death I've ever experienced. Like, I was like, I didn't even think. And then I did a lot more of deep dive into it. And it's like, they're such a social creature that, so now and then since we've had a few more die, and literally there has to be a mourning period for them, because they literally, and it's not even just like the shifting of the hierarchy and like all that stuff. They're genuinely like mourning. Right. It's bizarre. So I've learned so much through them. And then on an animal scheme in general, like things that can affect them, and like things that, like, they're partially diabetic right off the bat. Like, they can't have sugar. And I'm like, okay, well, that sucks for you. But like, they're such an enigma, and they're super, super cool. And then there's the whole fiber and the fertilizer, and like this whole, like, they do spit. They do. But like, I've had them for 7 years, and I've been spit on 3 times. And only once was on purpose. So like, they're so neat. They're just super, super cool critters.
They are very cool. And now I will forever know them as fiber dinosaurs. And our neighbor has llamas and alpacas down the road. And now that's all I will think of when I drive past them.
Fiber dinosaurs. It's exactly what they are. And that, you can thank my son for that. He's like, they're like Bigfoot, but with floof. Yeah. It's like, right on, kid. Right on.
I love that. So what year did you start the farm?
So Maple River Farm originally started out, I was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and it originally was chickens. So the name, I always had creatures here. That was part of my thing. Like, when I was with my ex-husband, I'm like, if we're going to be together, like, I need space, I need land. Like, I am not an apartment kind of gal. Like, I need to have an area where I can like accumulate creatures and like do my thing. So I was originally like hatching chickens. Like, I was into Orpingtons and kind of chicken genetics, and I thought that was really cool. And then the whole llama thing just kind of happened. So I'm just trying to think. It was after Finn. I had my first few llamas when my oldest was 3, I believe, 2 or 3. And then the fertilizer business actually really kind of kicked off when it would have been about 4 years ago, because Felix will be 5. And I remember I was bagging an order of fertilizer in labor with Felix. And I was like trying to get a hold of the farmer's market. And I was like texting them. I'm like, because I was 3 weeks early. And I was like, so surprise, tiny creature has decided that his eviction notice has been set. Like, I need to vacate. And it was a whole hullabaloo, because I was bagging fertilizer, and then I had 2 more llamas were being delivered that day. So I was like, not nobody's favorite person, but no one would say no, because I'm like literally like expelling a human from my body. And I'm like trying to be in the barn to direct my grandfather, who dropped everything. He lives 2 hours away. I called him. I'm like, pretty sure I'm in labor. The 2 llamas are coming today. They're on the road. Like, I can't cancel them. Like, can you come? And the man, I'm pretty sure, set land speed records to get here. And I'm like in the IWK, like in a tub, because I was like, Felix was like, I'm coming, I'm not coming, I'm coming, I'm not coming. So like, just go relax in a tub. I'm like, relaxing is not like on my to-do list today. Like, would you like to see what's happening? So I'm getting pictures of the llamas coming like in the barn. It was wild. So that's kind of how I like remember what my timeline was. And then it was that summer, Felix was just a fresh little morsel. And that's when the fiber part kind of kicked into it. So it's been like ever evolving since then.
You can help support the stories of women in agriculture to be shared through the Rural Woman podcast on Patreon. What is Patreon? It's a membership-based platform that helps fund and support creators like me to create and produce content like this that you all love. New to the Rural Woman Podcast Patreon is ad-free listening and patron-only bonus content and exclusive episodes. Learn more and join the patron gang today at patreon.com/The Rural Woman Podcast. So what was it about, looking back at that time and the ever evolving of it, what was it that kind of led you to the fertilizer aspect of it? Like, where did the fertilizer start for you?
It was the science. So I was reading when I was getting like kind of what I call like the second wave of creatures, as when I got like Penny Pepper, Blaze, Spice. Well, Spice was in utero, but Jim and Brock, like everybody was in there. And they're Surrey llamas. So their fiber is different than what like the Argentinians or the standard llamas are that you see around here. And I started doing research on their fiber. Essentially, I'm like, well, what is the difference? Like, they're llamas. And again, I wasn't like into the fiber world at that point. And I fell down this like rabbit hole of just like figuring out like, how their their digestive system works, and how it's like a cold manure and like it's high in nitrogen and XYZ. And then, believe it or not, there was at one point, it was on Shark Tank. It was called like Llama Brew, I think it was. It was a llama farm who went on Shark Tank and had like $1 million deal with the cannabis industry in California, because cannabis needs nitrogen as it's growing. And these guys are super high in nitrogen because of how they digest. And they're cold, like their manure is cold because they don't have a lot of organic matter that burns down when it's out. So you can put it on at any time. And I'm like, I speak the science. Like, I know the science. Like,
Right.
So then it just kind of steamrolled. I'm like, well, I can do this. And then I was reading, they make 50 pounds of manure a week. Well, that's a lot of manure. And then I was doing the math. I'm like, how many llamas do I have versus this and da-da-da. And the really cool thing is that they always poop in the same place. So, which is like bizarre to me, because one of my llamas, Pepper, she'll be like, she'll be humming in her stall in the morning. I'm like, I know. So she's literally waiting to take her morning dump. I'll open her stall door. She'll fly to the corner of the field, and you can literally just see her ears droop in like relaxation. She's so happy that she was waiting to poop. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you can poop anywhere, but you're this systematic. It's crazy. So that's kind of how like the fertilizer thing happened. And then I started like playing with like different forms of like what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. Being from a blueberry farm, and my grandfather's quite engineer based, we rigged up this little device that like cleans out the beans. It like blows out all the debris. I use shavings, and then I just have the beans, and then I do my stuff with them, and then I package them. Like, I have like West Coast Seeds and BC is a wholesaler for me. And then I have like a lot of local ones, like Scotian Gold is here. A lot of the Atlantic co-ops carries it. It's in New Brunswick. Where's the other one? I have some local greenhouses and stuff like that. So it just kind of like made its way out the door. Literally, I was playing with poop as a side gig because like they're always pooping.
Right. Well, we talk about side gigs or side hustles or anything like that. There's a lot of things you can do.
Right? And at first, like I remember this clear as day. I was like quite pregnant and like waddled down the stairs, and my ex was sitting there, and I'm like, I'm gonna sell llama shit. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, no, like, I'm serious. Like, I understand the science behind it. Like, I can do this. And you could tell he was like, here she goes. Like, as most everybody in my family does when I come up with an idea, and they're like, yeah, you're insane. But I mean, why not? They poop. It's there. It fills a niche. Why not?
Exactly. Why not? That's amazing. Let's talk about the fiber too. I'm admiring the fiber that is behind you.
My background.
Let's talk about it.
So this was like, I literally was like, okay, I've got llamas. Sweet. Awesome. They need haircuts. They need to be sheared. Cool. Found a shearer. That's a whole other dynamic. And then I was like, okay, they're sheared. Now what do I do with it? Because I can like process it. Like, what's that about? I'm like, okay, well, I'll get it made into something. So then found a local mill, and was like, said like XYZ, and everyone, and they're like, why would you want to share llamas? Like everyone is like mortified over the fact that I have like any affliction to do with llamas. They're like, they're arseholes and they spit. So I got it processed into roving. And that's like the step that you get it to be in order to spin it or to make it into yarn. And then I was like, what do I do now? I gotta learn how to spin. How do I learn how to spin? And I found the most magical human in the world, who ironically was really good friends with the lady who I got my llamas from. And she had called me, and she's English, and she called me one day, and she was talking to me on the phone because she knew that I had llamas. She found me on Facebook and was like wondering who my vet was and da-da-da-da-da. I didn't put two and two together who she was because I had no idea what she was saying because her accent was so thick. And then came back, found around, and we were just gabbing. And I'm like, I want to learn how to spin. Like, is this something that you'd be interested in doing? Like, if not, you can tell me to go pound sand. That's fine. But I know that you hand spin. Like, I was given your name, da-da-da-da. So every Friday, I want to say for 6 months, maybe more, probably more, Friday afternoons, I was at her place for 4 or 5 hours and that on my mat leave, and I learned how to spin. That's what I did. Hung out with her husband. Her husband, oh, there's a cat. Her husband is like the collectible man. Like, love him to bits. Just hanging out. They introduced me to eggs and toast, which is apparently an English thing. I was like, I understand having eggs and toast, but like, it's an actual thing that you put the eggs on the toast. Mind blown. Never. I don't know what's wrong with me, but the whole kit and caboodle. She taught me about her sheep. Like, she has Wensleydales. Like, learned on her wheel. Let me borrow a wheel until I decided what kind of style I wanted for my own. And then I was like, where has this been my whole life? Like, fell in love with it. Learned about, like, you know, different fibers, about how, you know, llamas are hyperallergenic because they don't have the lanolin. Their fibers, their micron count between their fibers are so much smaller, so they're 3 times warmer than sheep. Learning about different sheep fibers, and like, you know, some have curl, some have crimp, like different densities. And I was like, I'm the youngest old lady ever. Like, I was meant to be a pioneer and just sit here and spin all day, because that's like literally. So then after that, and then I had more llamas, and I was like, well, I got to figure out what to do. And then I ended up buying a carder and a picker, like part of the processing thing, and figuring how to wash it at home. And now I literally have like a floof factory, I call it, in my barn, with a space heater and a Bluetooth speaker so I can listen to my audiobooks, and a Keurig. And it's nothing for me if I have nothing else to do and I don't have the boys. For me to disappear down there for like 8 or 9 hours is nothing.
Right.
And just do the thing. And then my wheel is in my bedroom, because usually I spin when the boys are home because they're in their bedrooms. And I'll just sit there and spin away with like audiobook in my ears. And it's so cool. And I never thought, like, I'm not a crafty person. Like, my mother is very flower bed scrapbooking. Like, she can look at something and like make it look like Martha Stewart blew up on it. Like, that's her jam. I can't draw stick men with skirts. Like, not okay. And then this is like my thing, which is super cool. And it's just never seen it coming, but it's super, super neat.
Well, and it's kind of mixed all of your passions and your hobbies all together, right? Like, you love agriculture. I can tell it's in your blood, right? Yeah. You had said, like, you need the animals, you need the space, and, you know, what better way to like bring the loves of your life and turn a profit out of it?
Yeah, and originally, like, the whole thought was, you know, if you can pay for yourselves, that would be amazing. Because like, you guys take up space. And originally when I started out, like, it was just the llamas, and I had like 3 sheep. The sheep blew up because I decided for 1 year I would breed sheep. Because I'm like, I'm just going to breed a few of the girls, because, you know, having lambs would be absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. And you fall in love with the lambs, and the lambs can't go anywhere. And then, of course, and that's a big dynamic too, is that everybody who's here, like, my kids have to be comfortable going to the barn. They have to be comfortable being able to go outside. And like, you know, if they want to go in the field and walk down and go frog hunting in the pond, like, they need to be able to do that and not be afraid of anybody. I overkilled that. My ewes who lambed out were fantastic, and like, were very, very comfortable with me. So like, I was in there, it was great. That being said, the lambs are like golden retriever puppies. Like they see you coming and they're like, and they run, and then they just like lean on you. Like they're paralyzed. So everybody's friendly. And my thing is, it's like, how do you part with animals that your kids are that comfortable with,
right,
that are like going to grow up here, especially when you have older stock? Like, how do you swing that? So now I'm just like, well, I'm just going to, and then you can have what happened last year, that we said lamb from that batch of lambs who were super friendly, who was going off into the abyss to do lamb things at another farm, decided to do lamb things before he was supposed to here.
Oh.
So I walked out to the barn one day and I was like, there's a lamb. And I called my person. So incidentally, I'm dating my shearer now, which is a whole other dynamic. We've been together. I call him my person, the knight in shining shearing clothes. He was in Quebec shearing. I called him and I was like, there's a lamb in the barn. Like, what is happening? And if to know my partner is to know that I could tell him literally, and he's going to hear this and get mad at me, I could tell him that I got a camel or my leg fell off, and it would be the exact same emotional reaction. Like nothing stressed. Like he's calm, cool, collected. Him being calm, cool, collected, shearing sheep in Quebec was like, okay. And I'm like, there's a lamb in the barn. Nobody here has testicles. I do not understand. This is not, he's like, well, you've had children. You know how this works. I'm like, nobody was sheared. No, wasn't feeding for breeding. Like prenatal care was non-existent. I wasn't set up, and I'm the kind of person who's like, you're going to have a baby. You move into this pen 3 weeks early. We like we watch you like hawks. My worst fear is walking out and there being a dead lamb half stuck out of a dead ewe. Like, it's just stuff that I'm like, I'm not built for that. Again, he's like, well, you know how this works. So then we quickly did the math and realized that Leo was the ram, did some things. And ironically enough, I me being me, rapid fire gave everybody a mammogram that was out there. I'm like grabbing udders left, right, and center. I'm like, who's having what? Come to find out his grandmother was a victim. So we ushered her in to the maternity pen, and he watched her like a hawk. And I was like, and she's a great mom. Like, she's been a great mom since she's been here. This was her third lambing. And about a week later, I went out and she had triplets. And I was like, oh, good. Like, triplets the size of my hand. So I was on bottle feeding duty for four times a day. However, my little human, Felix, these are his babies. He had claimed them from the get-go. And 3 out of the 4 feedings, because he wasn't home for one of them or he'd be sleeping, he would come down with his bottle and he would feed his babies. So now he's like Dr. Dolittle. The triplets see him coming and they run to him, and he tips over his little bucket and he sits there. So then I'm like, how in the name of all that is holy do you part with these 3 lambs who this child is like invested in and loves, talks about all the time? Their names are Maki, Mocha, and Mustache. And, he will sit in his stall with his sheep, flip over the bucket, and he will tell them about his day. This is why I have 16 sheep, because you can't part with that. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, how, and everyone's like, well, they have to learn. I'm like, yeah, but it's not like they have to. Like, I have older stock who will eventually pass on, and that's fine. But I'm like, how do you sacrifice that comfort with him and then bring something else in, and then he gets headbutted and everyone wants to go to the barn again when you're 4.
Right.
Well, we're heavy on the sheep right now.
And you had mentioned before, you said, I'm not a good farmer because I named them. I have these emotional attachments. To me, also not a good farmer. But we see it as being a good farmer, right? Because you are giving them their very best life until they have their no good, very bad day one day, right?
Exactly.
It's going to happen. Life and death, it happens. And to be 4 years old on a farm and to be able to have these emotional connections to these animals who have a purpose, like they are giving you something, right? What a gift to give a child.
Right. And that's what I keep telling myself. Like my mom will growl at me. She's like, you have too many, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, but you don't see him light up. Like, you don't see him, like, shove his waffle in his mouth, want to go check on the babies before he goes to school in the morning. Like, him wanting to, like, run out of the car and go down. And he asked me for 3 things for Christmas. He wanted a box of hot dogs, which I'm like, okay, you're 4. We'll make it happen. He wants a cow. And I mean, like, sir, get in line. Like, we all want a cow. And 3, he wanted a hat made out of the baby's fiber. He's like, Mommy, you make me a hat. And I'm like, oh my God, like, sir, like, how? Like, how? I couldn't have asked for anything more amazing than that. I mean, and he knows, like, I know it takes a long time. He's so I wait. And I'm like, okay, like, so he gets it. But, like, they got sheared this year for the first time, and he sat there on his bucket with his feed bag waiting for the fiber to come off, and he was putting it in the bag, and then he would pet them and say good job, and off they'd go. And I'm like, you know what, having a few more because he gets to do that is invaluable. Like, it's invaluable. And the fact that everybody has a name and we know them so well, it's like, like, there was one day one of my llamas was sick, and I was just like, I know something's off, but if I was to call the vet would be like, what are you talking about? Like, I just know, but they wouldn't know what to do. Anyway, he ended up passing away 2 days later because it went downhill really quick and there was nothing. It was a tumor of sorts, I guess. But it's also that too, right? Like, it's such a small flock, but we know them so well and we pay attention to them. So there's definitely pros and cons, but the cons are the very worst bad day.
Yes, absolutely.
Very worst.
I want to talk about something, and we chatted about this before we hit record. You mentioned, you had a husband, and now he's your ex-husband, and you're co-parent now, and all of the things.
Yeah.
Being in agriculture, I always say when we're talking about the big D, and you don't mean Dallas, if anybody can quote that song. Getting a divorce in agriculture is very faux pas. I think getting a divorce at any point in your life or in any career is probably faux pas, but in agriculture, it seems to be a big one. And obviously, you had a young family and you were relatively a new farm in that sense. What made you decide that you were going to stay farming and continue to grow this business? And kind of what kept you motivated during that, difficult time in your life?
Spite and insanity, I think.
This is why we're friends.
Full disclosure. Yeah. You said I can't do that. Hold my beer.
Right.
In my case, it's usually a cider or a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And there was a lot to it. There was my ex-husband was pretty adamant that he's not from a rural background. He's not from a rural setting, and I have a lot of energy and big ambitions and had an idea, and it just didn't jive. And then he decided that this life wasn't for him, and he vamoosed and went off and is doing his own thing. And then I was sitting here and I'm like, I've worked so hard to get where I'm at right now in every semblance of my life, like professional, the farm, like, making a name for myself in agriculture, like out in the world as my career. I'm not giving it up. And then the boys, I was like watching them one day, and they were outside like pounding in puddles and like looking for worms and this whole thing. And I'm like, I can't give that up. Like, I can't, like, I need to make sure that this is going to work. Like, this is the life that they need. Like, they're boys, and I want to make them boys. And especially in the world today, where you see like so many things of like kids who don't have these experiences and they don't understand how it works. I'm like, I can't, like, I'm not doing that. And then there was the dynamic where there was like, people in my surrounding area who are like, oh yeah, no, she's going to pack it up. Like, she can't do it on her own. And I'm like, oh, watch me. So, and then I just did it. And I'm still doing it. And quite honestly, there's some days, like yesterday, prime example, was a really, really, really bad day for me because I woke up, we had a huge windstorm, and the tarps, I feed round bales, and my tarps were in Oz. And the top bales are soaking wet. I'm 5'6". I'm 140 pounds on a good day. Like, I had help doing that. I'm here by myself. And I sat in the shower and bawled for 20 minutes because I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, how do you do it? And it's a process for me, especially because I'll hit that wall where I'm like, oh my God, how do I do this? What am I going to do? Like, here are the dynamics, here are the issues. And I think it's a lot being science-based too, is that like, I need to see a clear way through it and understand how it's going to work. I don't like this hypothetical situation that you're in. It's like, no. That's all well and good, but I need to know. And then usually what happens after I like spiral, my brain kicks into this weird overdrive where it just makes things happen. It's like, okay, so your tarps are like, I literally look like a deflated balloon attached to this thing, trying to get it back, going to Oz. Like, I'm not even joking. It was hilarious. Like, if anybody drove by, they'd be like, that girl needs something. And it's like, it's the get shit done method, I guess, is more or less. And then it's just brute force and ignorance. It's like, you make it happen. It might not be exactly what you wanted or how you wanted to do it, but it's a solution at the time, and then you can kind of build on it. So that's kind of what happened with the farm, is that I bought it from him for whatever our lawyers. I was like, I don't know enough about this. I trust my lawyer. I had a fantastic lawyer who was like, girl, I got you. I'm like, okay, good. Bought it, kept it, still here with the boys by myself. Like, I am dating my shearer. He has his own farm and his own kids, half an hour down the road. We see each other when it works. Like, and no animosity. It's like, okay, I have 200 sheep to shear in New Brunswick, or I'm going to Quebec, or I'm going here. I'm like, okay, go. Like, it is what it is. So I just make it work. And there's a lot of stress sometimes, like a lot of stress, and my 4-year-old especially is very, very touchy. Like would climb back up into the mothership given the chance, I feel, and needs to be with me. And I get very overstimulated with that sometimes, because it's like, well, why? Like, well, why? And well, why? And how? And show me. And da-da-da-da. And there's just sometimes I just need to like get the stuff done. But I try to be like, you guys could be in a condo in Halifax in a box, like, eyes crossed. So rough it out. And then I do day 2.0. So like, we will come home. We get ready in the morning. We go down to the barn. Finn has his goats. Felix has his sheep. They say good morning. They give them their scritches. We hustle back to the car. We go to school. We come back. We do chores. We come in, we eat, we go to bed, and then I go back and do the actual chores because it's like, they help in some ways, but they don't. I call it day 2.0. So most of the things get done in day 2.0. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It is full on a lot of work. And I'm at the point now where it's just like, well, I got this far.
Right.
I'm not stopping now. Like, I'm not doing it. I mean, I'll probably stop if I like break a hip or something, but I feel like that's not in my 2000, I guess, will be 25 bingo card next year by the time I start a new card. But
right,
it is what it is. Yeah.
Well, and to know that those hard days are accompanied by your son sitting on a bucket collecting the fleece that is going to make his hat, like, they equal out in the end.
Oh,
right?
And you have to find those silver linings. Like, you absolutely have to, and I was bad for it for the longest time. It was like, and it wasn't that it was like all doom and gloom or like that type of situation, but it was very much like, oh my God, like, this is my life. Like, he left when Felix was 9 months old. I was like 3 days post hysterectomy. We have family issues with ovarian uterine cancer. And I was like, well, peace out. I've got 2. I'm done. And then I was technically stuck. Like, I couldn't lift up Felix for 6 weeks. I couldn't do any barn chores for 6 weeks, any heavy lifting. So then right after that, when I got the clear, it's like, strap on the baby to my carrier in my back, send the other one to daycare or like pre-primary, and get it done. And that stuff was like super dark and twisty. Like, what? Like, why? Like, what am I doing? And at that point, there wasn't as much reward in it because, Felix didn't even know like his own name. He's back there gooing and gone and like drooling on my sweater and, petting things. And then those would be the nights where it's like, why am I doing this? Like, what, like, is this like, do we get rid of everything? And then, you revisit it when like the boys are older and you have an idea like where up is essentially like, and then, you have the moments where it's like you walk out and then like someone like sticks their muzzle to your face. And it's like, okay, well, how many people can say that they have however many llamas and da 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 da. So it was very much a lot of like finding the tiny silver linings as much as you possibly could and not trying to go insane. So
keeping it all together in the process.
Oh yeah. Fake it till you make it. Because like there was a lot of faking.
Yeah.
And a lot of like, you look great and you look amazing. And like, girl, what are you doing? And I'm like, not eating.
Yeah.
Growing an ulcer, stressed as shit, and that one's not sleeping. Like that's why I look like an Ethiopian pine husk. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And I think when you look back on those really hard times, when things are kind of like in the middle for you or they're trending upwards, like I think those are going to be the times where not only I hope you take the time to look back and say, I did that and we got through it and we're here. But those are going to be the times where your boys look back to and say, what a cool life we had.
And that's the thing, too, that I keep telling myself. Because right now, sometimes like it's snowing and it's cold. And it's usually my older one who's more like, Mom. And it's like the little one who's like dragging me out the door. I can't wait for that part. For like, when they go, if they're, when they're older and they're like, yeah, we grew up on a llama farm and our mom's insane. And like the stories, they'll be like, what? Like, even now, they have shirts that say like my mom's the llama lady, and like people will see them, they're like, oh my god, like you're Larry's kids, because Larry's big on my social media presence because he's the llama that wears the antlers and wears the hats and stuff like that, and they're like, oh yeah, we have Larry. So it's like when they get older and then they look back and they're doing their own things and like, this is hard, like this sucks, and then they look, I'm very much looking forward to that. So, because right now it's like
getting through it. Fake
it till you make it.
Yeah.
100%.
Sam, what are some things that you are looking forward to in terms of your farm? Any projects that you want to share with us? What's the future plans?
The future plans. Well, I'm really hoping that we will have baby llamas at some point. My divorce present to myself was 3 intact males from Ontario from a different farm that had completely different genetics. And they are more interested in themselves than anybody with alternate breeding genitalia, if you will. And I'm really hoping that there's like a switch that goes off in their heads and they decide to spread the love throughout the world. Because breeding llamas is a whole different science. Like they're induced ovulators. Like they don't actually come into heats. It's so weird. I'm just like, and then they could be born the wrong way and fall on their necks and break their necks and die. So I'm like, Darwin didn't want you to succeed as a species. Like, I don't understand. So I'm hoping we'll have baby llamas. We've just added 3 Angora goats to the mix. As I was telling you, we now have Toast, Princess Pineapple, and April. I'm excited to play with their fiber because I like doing blends. Like we have primarily fin sheep, a little bit of Shetland in there, a little bit of Wensleydale. So I'm very excited to start blending different fibers and getting different like consistencies, color tones, stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to that and just kind of seeing where it takes me right now. I'm working on a few weird little collaborations that on the fertilizer side of things to see how that goes. But there's just some cool stuff that's kind of kicking around in here. So we'll see where it comes out, but it'll be fun.
Very cool. Sam, you are a delight. And
Well,
it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I can't wait to see where all of these collaborations go and all of the good things that are coming your way. My last question for you is, what is the most rewarding part about being a rural woman for you?
I think teaching my kids a work ethic, to be quite honest with you. And that, and probably like proving to yourself that you can do it. Like, that's a big thing for me, and I've learned that along the way. It's like everyone's like, you're crazy, like, what are you doing? It's like, no, I think I got this. And then actually having that feeling that when you think you can do it and then you do it, might not look like how you thought it was going to be. Like, it might be more of like a squiggly line versus a straight, but man, that's rewarding. And then having like little people watching you being like, whoa, like you just flipped that round bale all by yourself. And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure half my organs are in my overalls, but it's done. So, it's stuff like that I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit for. And I think that we really need to kind of like celebrate that type of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sam, for the folks who would like to connect with you online, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram and on Facebook at Maple River Farm. There's a few Maple River Farms, but there's a picture of like me, kind of half my head with a llama who looks like an orca. That would be Lawrence. He's a very popular one. You can find us there. I do have a YouTube channel that's been sadly neglected. So if you do see that, please don't judge me. It's been a hot minute. But Instagram's pretty much the main one that I go to, and Facebook would be the other one as well.
Perfect. And we will link all of those in the show notes so people can find you and connect with you and continue to cheer you on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Rural Woman Podcast. The Rural Woman Podcast is more than just a podcast. We are a community. A huge thank you to the Rural Woman Podcast team, audio editor Max Hofer. A special thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Sarah Riedner from Happiness by the Acre. To learn how you can become a Patreon executive producer or other ways to financially support the show, head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more. Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast to get the latest episodes directly on your playlist. And if you are loving the show, please be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform that accepts ratings and reviews. You can connect with us on social media at The Rural Woman Podcast and with me at Wild Rose Farmer. One of the best ways you can support the show is by sharing it. Send this episode to a friend or share on your social media. Let's strengthen and amplify the voices of women in agriculture together. Until next time, my friend, keep sharing your story. Did you know that you can get this same great episode of the Rural Woman Podcast ad-free? I get it. Listening to ads during a podcast isn't always my favorite either. But in order to keep the lights and coffee pot on here at the Rural Woman Podcast Studios, they are necessary. I am so grateful to each and every one of my sponsors, but if you yourself would like to skip the ads while supporting the show, consider joining me over on Patreon. Patrons of the Rural Woman Podcast get ad-free episodes starting at Tier 5 on their podcast player of choice each week, plus some other great benefits. Find out more by heading to the link in today's show notes to learn how you can become a patron through Patreon.